My name is William O'Bannon. I grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana. I spent about 25 years there, a few years kind of here and there with the Army before I moved up to Grand Junction, Colorado. Pretty 180 between the worlds there. Came from a hot and humid subtropic swamp to pretty much the high desert at about 4,500 feet in Grand Junction. Extreme temperature differences between the day and night and the actual season, so way different than down south. It's relatively cool. It's like mid to low 50s, but the sun is intense, like real intense. There's been big spouts of a lot of wind, and that wind is super cold. Yeah, we're here somewhere in Utah, about to go check out a monocline. We made it out of the wash. A lot of loose sand in there, a lot of obstacles, a lot of brush, a lot of stickers. We're up here on the kind of the rock now. Even though it's a steady uphill, it ought to be easier than going through that was, so we're on our way. Bring over here, maybe? Oh, let's see. So we came into this alcove here, we found a spring. It's not producing a whole lot. This is really the only exposed area of damp rock I can see, but there's algae all along the sides here. Not enough to make a mark going down the rock outside though. So we were about to head out, but we just found evidence of where some people who lived here at one point had dammed the spring here. There's a big flat rock standing up right here, supported by another one, and then you can kind of see the debris of where it's eventually collapsed. But I bet they were pretty well off having a spring out here in the middle of nowhere. I got you. It looks worn. You can almost tell that there's been a lot of traffic through here. So we finally made it up to these Anasazi ruins. This is pretty much the definition of a cliff dwelling. I mean, there were parts of the path to get here that were a little bit wider than our feet, so this was pretty extreme. It's probably a nice place back in the day. So even though the summit looks like it's right behind us, it's getting dark pretty quick, and we don't want to be on that sort of terrain in the dark, just a little bit dangerous. So we're gonna launch the drone and probably come back here first thing in the morning and make the summit. As much as I love these things, I am usually pretty reserved about flying it. You know, I don't really like to fly around other people. Definitely wouldn't fly around animals or anything like that. But you know, we're in the middle of nowhere in Utah. Some beautiful sunset scenery, and Utah's actually pretty drone friendly. So, yeah, good place to get some good shots. So I came up to HPG to be the shipping manager back in 2019, and you know, I spent really the first 6 months or year or so shipping every day, and I eventually kind of started taking on more responsibilities, and these days I'm the operations manager. I run the shop in downtown Grand Junction. You know, I still oversee the shipments, even though I've got some guys working for me that actually put stuff in boxes from day to day now. I take care of all the customer service. I'm pretty much the guy that you're going to get a hold of if you send an email. You know, I 100% consider myself a Toyota guy. I had 2 Tacos, and then I had a 4Runner for 10 years. But these days, here in Colorado, I'm driving a 2018 Subaru Outback. It's a pretty good vehicle. You know, there's a lot of utility space in this thing. I can go to Denver and back and get 40 miles to the gallon, so MPG is outstanding. Coming from 15-ish on my 4Runner to that, it's well worth it. I put some all-terrain tires on there to make it a little more capable. You know, I've done all these little things to it, but you know, it does have its limitations. There are a lot of places where I do need more ground clearance or probably some beefier tires, but I hope to get my old 4Runner back. I sold it to a friend when I came up here, and I'm going to try to get it back and have a nice mountain toy, desert toy that can go everywhere and do all the things that I want to do up here. So those two ought to balance each other out pretty well. So the sun finally came up this morning. Got down to like 14.5 degrees last night. We made a fire this morning to get warmed up. I'm over here boiling some water, about to eat some breakfast. Started my car first thing to make sure that the cold didn't wear on that battery. Wouldn't be nice to be stranded out here. But we're good to go, and once we get warmed up and get some food in us, we're gonna make that summit of that monocline we didn't make yesterday. We finally made it to the top here. We're gonna hang out and enjoy the scenery, get something to eat, and rest up for a few minutes before we head down into the canyon right here and then make our way back to camp.